Top diplomats and high-ranking military officials from Turkey have agreed to coordinate with Russia on the Syria crisis after holding talks in Moscow, which finished up in the last hour or so. It comes after the situation in Syria escalated following Donald Trump's surprise decision to pull US troops out of the country. Right, let's get more on the talks now. Our correspondent Maria Finoshna is across what's been happening. Hi there. So what's been announced by Turkey and Russia?
To say that despite the meeting taking place in snowy Moscow that is now totally into New Year holiday season, you can see Christmas tree behind me. I have to say that very serious topics on the agenda, Syria's fate, and Russia and Turkey coordinated work on the ground now after US announced its troops withdrawal. It is expected to take up to 100 days, but certainly it is changing this situation in Syria already now, especially in the region east of the Euphrates River. This is where the American military have been present. And once they are out, this territory that is now officially under the control of the Kurdish forces may become especially vulnerable. So the Russian and Turkish delegations that included top diplomats, defense ministers and intelligence chiefs met here in Moscow to discuss what should be done to avoid any military confrontation in this area between any forces, and there are many fractions on the ground. As you know, this is what Syrian conflict has been especially sadly famous for, and that's especially after Turkey saying it is getting ready for an assault against Kurds in Syria's north, Kurds that Ankara sees as terrorists. So Russia and Turkey met to see what should be done, what they could do to avoid a military confrontation, which means death of people, what should be done to boost return of refugees to Syria and displaced people back to their homes, and what to do to bring peace to Syria through political solutions. Speaking to media following the meeting, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has specifically mentioned the Syrian Constitutional Committee. Let's take a listen.
Было констатировано, что Россия и Турция.
During the talks, we specifically mentioned that Russia and Turkey, with the participation of our Iranian colleagues, did everything promised to create a Syrian constitutional committee. This has been done by our states as mediators between the Syrian government and opposition, and we hope that those, including our Western partners, who called the Astana Group to finish its work as soon as possible, would not interfere in its continued work.
All in all, there was a feeling that both sides, both Russia and Turkey, are rather optimistic on how things develop in Syria right now, and also added that they believe and hope that the new year will bring more positive changes to this war-torn country, and maybe a long-awaited peace will finally come there. Back to you.
OK, thanks for that update, Maria Finoshna, outside the Russian Foreign Ministry in central Moscow. Now, the northern part of Syria has been a battleground on several occasions since the war started back in 2011, and it's meant that the Kurdish population there haven't seen peace for a long time. Igor Zhdanov takes a closer look at their role in all of this.
They call themselves freedom fighters. Turkey calls them terrorists. The US used them as their proxy army. Well, after this, used to.
There will be a strong, deliberate and orderly withdrawal of US forces from Syria. Very deliberate, very orderly.
Turkey has already begun massing its forces on the front line, and the Kurds know all too well the consequences of that. They've been there with Afrin. Back in January, the Turks launched Operation Olive Branch against the minorities' northernmost territories. There were reports the Syrian army could have intervened, but in the end, the Kurds put on a brave face and decided to go it alone. And Afrin fell, and quickly. For the Turkish army, the operation was hardly more challenging than a drill. The Turks almost moved deeper to another major Kurdish stronghold of Manbij. There, US generals literally had to put their bodies between the two to prevent bloodshed. Now the US is abandoning Syria and the Kurds, while Erdogan has been making it clear that a Kurdish-held Manbij just won't stand with them.
These terrorists have to go to the east of the Euphrates. If they do not leave, we will send them.
That was postponed eventually, but not indefinitely, unless the Kurds leave Manbij.
We are already against Syria's division. Our entire aim is to make terrorist organizations leave the area. If the terrorists leave, then there is no work left for us anyway.
The American withdrawal has left the Kurds with a limited number of options, really. So they've turned to Damascus, asking to shield them.
We invite the Syrian government, which we belong to send its armed forces to take over these positions and protect Manbij in the face of Turkish threats.
In response to the requests of the population of Manbij, the Syrian government and its armed forces announce it is sending in troops to Manbij.
And so, there they are. The government forces have entered the Kurdish kingdom for the first time in years. With Russia being a major influence on Damascus, Turkey is once again turning to Moscow. So, the cards have been dealt. And now it's down to Turkey if they will go all in.